Tom lived alone near the edge of the forest, in a small wooden cabin with a garden and a radio tower. His nearest neighbor was 20 kilometers away. He liked the quiet. After losing his family in an accident 5 years ago, he had chosen this peaceful life away from cities, noise, and pain. One evening, just as the sun was setting behind the mountains, he was chopping wood when a loud sound shook the sky. It was not thunder. It was a deep, tearing noise, like the air itself had been broken. Tom dropped the axe and looked up. A trail of smoke moved across the sky. Something was falling fast. A bright object, glowing red, flew over the trees and disappeared into the forest with a loud crash. For a moment, everything was still. Then birds flew up in panic. Tom ran to his old truck, started it, and drove toward the sound. His heart was beating fast. He had seen meteor showers before, but this was different. This thing had shape, control, maybe even engines. After driving off-road for 10 minutes, he saw broken trees and burning branches. The crash had left a long scar in the earth. At the center, half buried in dirt, was something metal, round and strange. It wasn't a plane or satellite. It was smooth, silver blue, with glowing lines across its surface. Tom stepped out carefully. The heat was strong, and smoke filled the air. He walked closer, holding a flashlight. Then he saw her. A figure lay just outside the broken craft, motionless. She looked human, but not quite. Her skin had a soft glow. Her clothes were tight, silver, and torn in places. One leg was bleeding. Her head had a deep cut, and her eyes were closed. Tom knelt beside her. She was breathing, but barely. She looked young, maybe in her 20s. Her hair was a strange shade of white gold. He didn't know what to do, but he couldn't leave her here. He lifted her gently into the truck, wrapped her in a blanket, and drove back to his cabin as fast as he could. Inside his home, Tom laid the woman on his couch. He cleaned the wound on her head and wrapped it with a cloth. She didn't wake up that night. She just breathed slowly, like she was in a deep dream. Tom stayed up, watching her, wondering what she was. Alien, some kind of experiment. Should he call the government? But one look at her, peaceful. Her face stopped him. He whispered to himself, "You're safe here." In the morning, she opened her eyes. Tom was sitting in a chair nearby, drinking coffee. He almost dropped the cup when she spoke. "You're here," she said softly. Tom nodded. "You're awake. You were hurt. I brought you here." She looked around the room, confused. Her eyes were bright blue, almost glowing. Then she looked at Tom again, and her face changed. I remember you," she said, trying to sit up. "You do?" Tom asked carefully. She smiled. "Of course. You're my husband." Tom's heart skipped a beat. "What?" She leaned forward and touched his hand. "I must have hit my head. Everything is foggy. But I remember your face, your voice, your mine." Tom gently pulled his hand back. "Listen, I think you're confused. We've never met before. I found you after your crash." She looked hurt, like a child being told Santa isn't real. "But I feel it," she whispered. "I know you. In my heart, I know." Tom didn't know what to say. She was clearly not lying. She believed it. "What's your name?" he asked. She paused. Her eyes looked distant. Then she shook her head. "I don't know. Do you remember anything? Where you're from?" "No," she said quietly. "Only you." Tom sighed. He didn't want to scare her. She needed rest, not stress. Maybe the memory loss would pass. "All right," he said softly. "For now. Just take it easy. You're safe here. My name is Tom." She smiled again. "Tom. I like that." Over the next few days, the woman stayed inside the cabin. She still believed Tom was her husband. She began calling herself mirrored a name that came to her in a dream. She helped around the cabin, made food though she didn't understand most earth tools, and followed Tom everywhere. Tom didn't stop her. He told her the truth more than once, but she kept insisting they were married. It felt strange at first, but also peaceful. She had a gentle way of speaking. She laughed at small things like birds landing on windows or the sound of popcorn. She asked about Earth, about stars, about Tom's life. Tom had not spoken this much in years. One evening, as they watched the sunset, Mira sat beside him and said, "I may not remember where I came from, but I feel like I've come home." Tom looked at her, unsure of what he felt. She was an alien. She had powers, maybe danger in her past, but at that moment, she was just Mira, the woman who smiled in her sleep and made his quiet world feel alive again. He looked at the stars and whispered, "Who are you really?" Mira leaned her head on his shoulder and said, "Your wife, always." Mira woke early the next morning, just as sunlight touched the cabin walls. She stood quietly at the window, watching the trees dance in the breeze. Birds chirped outside. A squirrel ran along a branch. Everything felt peaceful. She turned around and saw Tom making coffee. His hair was messy, and he wore the same brown jacket he always wore. He didn't see her looking. She smiled to Mira. This place felt right. The smell of wood, the sound of the wind, the way Tom moved, she believed this was her life. Her memory was still foggy, but one thing felt clear. Tom was her husband. Tom noticed her standing there, mourning. He said with a kind smile, "How do you feel?" "Better," she said, walking over. "I had dreams about stars and flying, but when I opened my eyes and saw you, I felt calm." Tom nodded. "That's good. You need time to heal." Mira touched his arm gently. "You're always so calm, Tom. You were like this when we lived on that small ship too." Tom looked confused. "What ship?" Mira blinked. "The one we lived on." She frowned. "Wait, maybe I'm mixing things. I'm sorry. My head still feels strange." Tom gently pulled a chair for her. "Don't worry about it. You've been through something big. Just rest." "All right." She nodded and sat down. Tom placed a plate of toast in front of her. Mira smiled again. "You always make breakfast for me." Tom sat across from her. "You really believe we're married?" "I don't just believe it," she said softly. "I feel it deep inside. Every time I look at you." Tom stayed quiet. He didn't want to hurt her feelings. He had already told her the truth. He found her after the crash, unconscious. She was a stranger when he brought her home. But Mira refused to accept that. And honestly, it was getting harder to push her away. Later that day, Mira explored the cabin. She looked through Tom's books and asked about everything. "What's this tool for? Why do you grow carrots but not apples? How does your radio work?" Tom answered each question with patience. He had never met someone so curious. When she found a photo of Tom's old family, she stared at it for a long time. "Who is she?" she asked, pointing at the woman beside Tom in the picture. "My wife," Tom said quietly. "She passed away years ago." Mira looked at him. "I'm sorry." "It's okay," Tom said. "I've made peace with it." Mira held the photo for a moment, then placed it down. She was beautiful. Tom gave a small smile. She was kind. Mira looked at her hands. "Do you think she would be angry if I stayed here?" Tom blinked. "What do you mean?" "I don't know who I am. I don't know where I belong. But with you, I feel safe. I don't want to leave." Tom stood silently. His mind was full of questions. Why did she crash here? Was someone looking for her? What if her memory returned suddenly? Would she hate him for not taking her to the authorities? But looking at Mira now, soft, kind, and full of life, he didn't have the heart to send her away. "You can stay," he said at last, "as long as you need." Mira's eyes lit up. "Thank you." Over the next few days, Mira made the cabin feel different. She added flowers to the table. She cleaned windows and cooked her own version of soup, using roots and leaves Tom didn't even know were edible. One day, she found an old music player and danced in the middle of the room, spinning around with joy. Tom watched from the door, a smile slowly growing on his face. "You should dance too," she said. "I don't dance." "Come on, husband," she teased. Tom laughed. "Still calling me that, yes?" she said simply, "until you believe it too." But not everything was perfect. Sometimes Mira would stare at the sky with a faraway look in her eyes. Sometimes she would wake up from dreams crying. She would say words in a strange language and then forget she said them. One evening, Tom found her outside, looking at the stars. "Do you miss it?" he asked. I don't know, she whispered. I think I came from out there. But I'm scared of what I'll remember. What if I was someone bad? What if I hurt people? Tom sat beside her. I don't think you're bad, Mira. You don't know that. But I know the person standing in front of me now, and she's not dangerous. Mira looked at him with wet eyes. Why are you so kind to me? Because you needed help, and maybe I needed someone too. She smiled weakly. Then I'm glad I hit my head. They both laughed quietly. That night, Tom stood on the porch, watching the sky. Mira was asleep inside, peaceful at last. He didn't know what the future would bring. Maybe her memories would return tomorrow. Maybe someone would come looking for her. Maybe everything would change. But right now, he only knew one thing. He wasn't alone anymore. Tom had seen many strange things in his life. He had lived through storms, wild animals, and even a fire once. But nothing was stranger than Mira. She smiled like a normal woman, laughed like one too, but she was not from this world. Tom had no doubt anymore. She was from the stars, and now she was showing signs of something more. It started with small things. One morning, Tom was fixing a broken chair. He dropped a nail on the floor, and it rolled under the table. He was about to reach for it when he saw Mira wave her hand. The nail floated up into her fingers. Tom froze. How did you do that? Mira blinked. Do what? The nail. It floated. She looked at her hand, surprised. I don't know. I just thought about it, and it came to me. Tom sat back slowly. That's not normal. Mira looked worried. Is it bad? No, he said carefully. Just different. Mira frowned. I didn't mean to scare you. You didn't, Tom said quickly. I just wasn't expecting it. Later that day, more strange things happened. When Mira touched a dying plant in the garden, the leaves turned green again. When she held her hand over Tom's scratched arm, the wound faded like it was never there. I think I'm changing, she said that night. Sitting by the fire, Tom looked at her. Or maybe you're remembering who you really are. Mira hugged her knees. But what if I don't like the person I used to be? Tom didn't answer right away. He threw another log into the fire and watched the flames dance. You're not the past, he said at last. You're who you choose to be now. Mira looked at him, her eyes soft and glowing. You always say the right thing. Tom gave a small smile. I just say what I believe. The next morning, they worked together in the garden. Mira had made a list of vegetables she wanted to grow, even though Tom had no idea how she knew earth crops so well. She knelt in the dirt, planting seeds with care. Tom worked beside her, watching the way she smiled at butterflies and hummed. To the plants, you seem happy, Tom said. I am, Mira replied. For the first time, I feel at peace. Then, out of nowhere, she looked up and asked, "Did we ever want children?" Tom was taken by surprise. "What if we're married?" she said gently. "Did we ever talk about kids?" Tom wiped sweat from his brow. "You really believe we're married?" "I do." Tom sat back and looked at the sky. "Well, in another life, maybe we were." Mira reached over and touched his hand. "I think this is that life." Later that day, something strange happened again. Tom was inside, washing tools, when he heard Mira scream. He ran outside and found her standing in the forest, staring at something on the ground. It was a strange creature, small, thin, and gray with 4 legs. It looked like a mix between a lizard and a robot. Mira's hands were glowing faint blue. The creature was not moving. "I didn't mean to hurt it," she said, breathing hard. "It came at me. I just reacted." Tom bent down. The creature was not from Earth. He had never seen anything like it. "Did it attack you?" he asked. "I think it was watching us," Mira said. "It felt wrong." Tom lifted the small thing and placed it in a metal box. "We'll look at it later." Mira sat on the ground, shaking. "I didn't want to hurt anything." "You were defending yourself," Tom said gently. "It's okay." But in his mind, new questions were growing. Who sent this creature? Were they being watched? And why was Mira starting to remember how to fight? That night, Mira couldn't sleep. She stood outside, looking at the stars again. Tom joined her quietly. "I feel something coming," she whispered. What do you mean? Like a door opening inside me. I see flashes, ships, people, battles. Do you see where you came from? Sometimes. But it's cloudy. Tom put a hand on her shoulder. Maybe it's better that way. Mira shook her head. No, I need to know. What if my people are in danger? What if I was on a mission? What if I failed? Tom didn't answer. The truth was, he didn't want to lose her. But he couldn't keep her in the dark either. We'll figure it out, he said. Together. Mira turned to him. Even if I'm someone else, you're still Mira to me. She looked at him with emotion in her eyes. I wish I could freeze this moment. Just us, the sky. This piece, Tom nodded. Me too. And for a while, they just stood there, side by side, under the stars. The next morning, Tom checked the metal box. The small creature was gone. The lock wasn't broken. It had simply vanished. Tom looked around the forest with worry. Something was watching them, something that didn't want Mira to stay lost. He returned to the cabin and found Mira drawing symbols in the dirt. They looked like stars and paths and words in a language Tom couldn't read. She looked up. I think I used to be someone important. Tom nodded. I believe it. But now, Mira said slowly, I just want to be here, with you. Tom smiled, though fear was growing in his heart. Someone or something was coming, and they wouldn't let Mira stay forever. But he also knew one thing for sure. He would fight to keep her safe. One cool evening, Mira woke from a restless sleep. Her mind was a storm of strange images, flashing stars, powerful ships, and faces she did not recognize but somehow felt close to. She could hear voices in a language she did not understand, but they called her by a name she did know, Commander. Velen. She sat up in bed and rubbed her temples. The pain in her head was sharper than before. She knew she had to learn more, but the memories frightened her. Tom noticed her wake. Are you okay? Mira shook her head. I don't know. I'm seeing things, visions. People calling me Commander Velen. I feel like I'm part of something bigger, something dangerous. Tom took her hand. You don't have to face it alone. Together. They decided Mira should try to find answers. They started by looking at the strange symbols she had drawn in the dirt days before. Tom found an old tablet in his cabin, a device from a past mission he had helped with long ago. It was able to scan and translate images. Mira traced the symbols with her fingers as the tablet scanned them. Suddenly, a hologram lit up between them. It showed a battle in space, a large ship, firing beams at smaller fighters. The fighters had a strange blue glow, and the larger ship was dark and menacing. This is my world, Mira whispered. My people fought in this war. Tom looked at the image in awe. What war? Mira's eyes filled with tears. A war between my people, the Velens, and the Zarn. The Zarn want to control everything. They capture minds and erase memories. They are dangerous. Tom tightened his grip on her hand. Are they coming here? I don't know, she said quietly. But if they find me, they will try to take me back, or worse, the next day. Tom and Mira went deeper into the forest to find parts of the crashed ship. Mira hoped to discover more about her past and if any devices could help protect them. As they walked, Mira felt the forest watching. Every rustle made her jump. She knew she was not alone. Suddenly, a low hum filled the air. Tom raised his hands. Stay behind me. A small drone flew out from behind a tree, shining a bright light at them. Mira stepped forward calmly. This is a scouting drone, she said. It belongs to the Zarn. The drone beeped and sent a signal. Tom tried to block it with an old radio jammer he had built, but the drone's signal was strong. We have to destroy it, Mira said, eyes glowing faint blue. Tom nodded. Mira raised her hand, and a blue light formed around her fingers. The drone's light flickered, and it fell to the ground, silent. Tom picked it up and examined it. They are close. We need to be ready. That night, Mira told Tom everything she remembered, her rank, her mission, and the reason she fled to Earth. I was chasing a Zarn spy, she said. He escaped to your world. I tried to follow him, but my ship was damaged. I crashed here and lost my memory. Tom listened carefully. Why did you come here? Why Earth? Because it is hidden. Because I hoped I could hide and heal. He looked at her, amazed. And you didn't tell me before? I was afraid, Mira said. Afraid you would send me away. Afraid I would lose you. Tom smiled softly. You're not losing me. Not now. The next morning, Tom and Mira set a small camp near the crash site. Mira felt stronger now. She practiced controlling her powers, lifting stones, healing small wounds, and sending signals through the forest. Tom helped her. They built traps to warn them if anyone approached. While they worked, Mira grew closer to Tom, not just as a protector, but as a friend. Maybe something more. One afternoon, Tom asked, if you remember everything, will you go back to your people? Mira looked at the sky, thinking, I don't know. My people are soldiers. My life was full of orders and battles. Here, I am free. Tom smiled. Maybe this is where you belong. Mira reached out and took his hand. With you. That night, a strange sound came from the forest, a low growl mixed with metal scraping. Tom grabbed a flashlight and a tool. Stay here. He stepped outside, heart pounding. Suddenly, a dark figure moved between the trees. It was a Zarn scout, tall, with glowing red eyes and sharp armor. Tom froze. The scout spoke in a harsh voice. Return the prisoner. Tom shouted, we don't have anyone. Go away. The scout advanced. Mira appeared behind Tom, glowing bright blue. Leave him. The scout stopped. Surprised, Mira raised her hands. And a wave of energy pushed the scout back. Tom grabbed Mira's hand, and they ran toward the cabin. Back inside, Tom locked the doors and windows. We need to be ready, Mira said. The Zarn won't give up. Tom nodded. We'll fight, together. They sat near the fire, holding hands. Tom looked at Mira and saw not a stranger, but a warrior, a woman who had chosen a new life. Mira smiled. Thank you, Tom, for saving me. You saved me too, Tom said softly. Outside, the stars shone bright, silent witnesses to a story just beginning. The night was dark, and the stars twinkled quietly above Tom's small cabin. Mira sat by the window, her eyes fixed on the sky. She could feel something coming, a warning deep inside her that made her heart beat faster. Suddenly, a bright light flashed through the trees. Tom heard a strange humming noise growing louder and louder. He stood up quickly, his hand on the door handle. Outside, a large ship hovered above the forest. It was unlike anything Tom had ever seen, big, dark, and covered in glowing red lights. The ship's engines made the ground tremble beneath their feet. Tom grabbed Mira's hand. They're here, he said softly. Mira's eyes were wide with fear and determination. The Zarn, she whispered. They came for me. Tom knew they had to act fast. They had little time before the Zarn would find them inside the cabin. Tom and Mira worked quickly to prepare. Tom grabbed an old rifle he kept for emergencies. Mira concentrated, and her hands glowed faintly blue. Her powers were growing stronger. Every day, we can't fight their whole ship, Mira said. But we can stop their scouts. Tom nodded. I'll set traps around the cabin. You take care of the scouts. Together, they moved into the forest, moving quietly through the trees. The humming noise grew louder, and soon, small scout ships appeared, flying low and fast. Mira raised her hands. Blue energy pulsed from her fingers and shot toward the scouts. One by one, the small ships faltered and crashed into the trees. Tom's traps went off, catching another scout by surprise. He fired his rifle, hitting the engines. Smoke and sparks flew. But then, from the big ship, a heavy landing craft touched down near the edge of the forest. Larger than the scouts, it carried armed Zarn soldiers, tall, with red glowing eyes and sharp armor. The soldiers spread out, searching the area. Tom and Mira hid behind a large rock. They're coming this way, Tom whispered. Mira held Tom's hand tightly. I'm not afraid. We fight together. They waited until the soldiers were close. Then Mira stepped forward. Her blue light flared brighter than ever. She shouted in a strong voice, leave now, or face the consequences. The Zarn soldiers stopped and raised their weapons. Tom stepped beside Mira, holding his rifle steady. The leader of the soldiers spoke in a deep, cold voice. Return, Commander Velen. You are coming with us. Mira shook her head. I'm free now. A battle started. Mira moved quickly, sending waves of blue energy to push the soldiers back. Tom fired his rifle, hitting soldiers who came too close. Despite being outnumbered, Tom and Mira fought with heart and skill. Mira's powers made her almost untouchable. Tom's quick thinking and traps slowed the enemy. At one point, a soldier aimed directly at Tom. Mira threw herself between them and stopped. The blast of the shield of glowing light. Tom gasped, "Are you okay?" Mira smiled tiredly. "I will be." After a long fight, the Zarn soldiers retreated to their ship. The large ship lifted off slowly, disappearing into the sky. Tom and Mira watched in silence. "We won this battle," Mira said softly, "but the war is not over." Tom nodded. "We'll be ready." Back at the cabin, Mira collapsed on the floor. Exhausted, Tom helped her up and sat beside her. "You saved me today." "You saved me too," she replied with a small smile. They sat quietly, holding hands. The next morning, Mira stood outside, looking at the stars. "I want to send a message to my people," she said. "Tell them I am alive and safe." Tom nodded. "I'll help." Using parts from the crashed ship, they built a small transmitter. Mira used her powers to boost the signal. They sent the message. Days passed without any answer. Tom and Mira continued to live quietly, always watching the sky. Then, one afternoon, a new ship appeared. But this one was different. It was a small, sleek craft that landed near the cabin. From it stepped a man, dressed in strange armor. His eyes were kind, and his voice calm. "I'm Yarrow," he said. "I come from the Velen fleet." Mira sent a message. Mira's eyes filled with tears. "I thought I was alone." Yarrow smiled gently. "You are not alone. We will protect you." Tom looked at Yarrow, feeling hope for the first time in a long time. That night, the three sat by the fire. Yarrow told stories of space battles, of the Velen people fighting the Zarn, and of hope for peace. Mira listened, feeling stronger. Tom felt a new family growing, one not just of blood, but of trust and courage. The forest was quiet again. Tom sat outside his cabin, sipping hot tea as the sun rose behind the hills. Birds sang softly. The wind moved through the trees, brushing the leaves gently. But this morning, something felt different. Inside the cabin, Mira packed her things. Not many, just the silver band she wore when she first arrived, a cloth bag of seeds for planting, and the glowing crystals she had taken from her crashed ship. Tom watched her through the window. His chest felt heavy. Jaro, the soldier from the Velen fleet, stood near the ship he had arrived in. He was waiting for Mira's decision. Would she leave? Would she go back to the stars and forget this small life they had built together? Tom didn't know what to say. Part of him wanted to tell her to stay, but another part whispered, "She doesn't belong here. Let her go." Mira stepped out of the cabin and walked toward Tom. She looked calm, but her hands were shaking slightly. "I'm ready," she said softly. Tom stood up. "So, this is goodbye?" Mira didn't answer right away. She looked around the garden they had planted together, the tools they had repaired, the spot where she used to watch the stars every night. "I don't know," she said. "I want to go with Yarrow and learn the full truth. But I also want to stay." Tom gave a small nod. "You don't have to decide now." "But I do," Mira replied. "The ship leaves soon." They stood in silence for a moment. Mira looked into Tom's eyes. "When I lost my memory, I thought you were my husband. I believed it in my heart. I know now that it wasn't true, but the feeling stayed." Tom looked down. "I never lied to you." "I know. That's why it meant something." Yarrow walked toward them. "Mira," he said kindly, "your people need you. You are important to our fight. If you return with me, you can help save lives." Mira nodded. "I understand." Yarrow looked at Tom and gave a polite bow. "Thank you for protecting her. She is one of our finest." Tom just gave a short nod, hiding the ache in his chest. Mira turned to Yarrow. "Give me a moment." Yarrow stepped back. Mira walked with Tom toward the garden. She touched a sunflower growing tall and bright. "This wasn't here when I arrived." "You planted it," Tom said. I didn't know how to grow anything before. I didn't know how to live simply. I only knew how to fight. She looked at him. But you taught me another way. Tom gave a small smile. You taught me something, too. What's that? That I could still care about someone, even after all I lost. They stood under the morning sun, side by side. Finally, Mira stepped back and looked at the sky. Maybe I don't have to choose just one life. Maybe I can build a new one. She turned to Tom. I'm not going, she said. Not now. Not yet. Tom's eyes widened. Are you sure? Yes, she said. I'm not ready to leave this place. I want to know what it's like to grow a full garden, to see winter come, to wake up next to you. Tom felt warmth spread in his chest. You don't owe me anything. Mira, I know, she said. That's why it matters. Jarl was surprised when Mira told him her choice. You will always be welcome among the Velen, he said, and I will come when it is time. Mira replied. Jarl gave her a small device. If you need help, press this. We will come. Then he looked at Tom. Take care of her. I will. Tom said. Jarl nodded and returned to the ship. Moments later, the craft lifted into the sky, leaving a trail of light behind. Tom and Mira stood together, watching it disappear. In the days that followed, Mira returned to life at the cabin. She helped repair the fence, cooked simple meals, and read Earth books out loud to Tom in the evenings. Sometimes she still practiced her powers, lifting water from the well without touching it, or helping sick plants grow strong again. But mostly, she focused on living. One afternoon, they sat under a tree, sharing bread and tea. Do you miss space? Tom asked. Sometimes, she said, but not as much as I thought I would. Tom smiled. I'm glad. Mira looked at him. Do you still wish your old life hadn't changed? Tom paused. I'll always miss it, but now I believe that life isn't over, it just changed, and maybe it brought me to you. Mira reached over and held his hand. That night, a soft rain fell. They sat by the fire inside the cabin. Mira spoke quietly. If I ever forget again, if something happens to me, I want you to know that this was real. Tom looked into her eyes. I know. She leaned her head on his shoulder. I may have come from the stars, but my heart found its home here. Outside, the rain gently tapped the roof. Inside, two souls from different worlds sat close, safe, and full of quiet hope. The forest had changed. Summer faded into autumn, and golden leaves floated down from the trees. The air had grown cooler, and the sky turned a softer blue. The winds carried the scent of pine, earth, and wood smoke. Tom stood outside the cabin, splitting firewood for the coming cold. His hands worked with practice, steady and strong. Inside the cabin, Mira stirred soup in a pot. She had learned to cook by watching Tom, and now she added her own ideas: wild herbs, glowing root plants from the forest, even strange seeds that she said helped strengthen memory. Tom said they tasted like carrots. Mira just laughed. Their life had become quiet again. But it was not empty. It was full of small things: shared meals, long walks, tending the garden, and watching stars at night. They didn't talk much about the past anymore, or about the war and the stars. That world felt far away now. But even in peace, change was always near. One cold morning, Mira stood by the edge of the forest. She had seen something in her dreams: a bright light, a signal in the sky. Tom joined her. You're up early. I saw something, she said. In my sleep, a vision. Tom looked at her, calm but alert. Was it a warning? I don't think so, she replied. I think someone is coming, but not to hurt us. Tom nodded. Do we need to prepare? No, she said. Just wait. 2 nights later, a small star moved across the sky, then stopped above the trees. It pulsed gently, a soft blue light. Mira stood outside the cabin, her silver band glowing on her wrist. They found me again, she said. Tom's chest felt tight. Are you going? Mira smiled softly. No, not unless you tell me to. He looked at her. I wouldn't. She reached into her pocket and pulled out the device Jarl had given her. A calm voice spoke through it. Commander Velen, your people are safe. The war has slowed. Peace. Talks have begun. Your presence is not required, but you are remembered. Mira listened quietly, then pressed the button, tell them I'm alive, and then I found peace. The light in the sky slowly faded, disappearing into the stars. After that night, Mira became more certain about her place. She still had powers. She still remembered her people and her past, but she no longer felt lost. Tom and Mira built a larger garden together. They added a second room to the cabin. Mira even painted a wall with soft colors and stars. So we can always remember where we came from, she said. Tom laughed. You came from space. I came from a small town. Not the same, Mira smiled. But we ended up in the same place. One afternoon, Tom and Mira sat by the lake nearby. The water was calm, reflecting the clouds above. Mira dipped her feet in the cool water. I used to think I had to return to space, she said. That it was my duty. Tom looked out across the lake. Do you still feel that way? No, she whispered. Now I believe my journey brought me here for a reason. She picked up a small stone and turned it over in her fingers. When I lost my memory, I thought you were my husband. That wasn't true. But maybe my heart knew something before my mind did. Tom smiled gently. You still believe we were meant to meet? I do, she said. Maybe not as husband and wife, but as two souls who needed each other. Tom looked at her with soft eyes. Well, I don't care what the stars say. I'm glad you hit your head. Mira laughed. Me too. As weeks passed, the first snow began to fall. Mira had never seen snow before, at least. Not on Earth. She ran outside in her boots, lifting her hands to the sky as flakes drifted down. Tom stood at the door, watching her spin in circles and laugh like a child. She came back in, her hair wet and her cheeks red. That was amazing. You'll get tired of it after a week, Tom teased. No, she grinned. Snow is magic. Tom looked at her. You're magic. They both laughed, then sat by the fire and warmed their hands. One quiet evening, Mira found Tom outside, looking up at the stars. Are you waiting for another ship? She asked. Tom shook his head. No, just thinking. About what? He looked at her. About how I used to think I'd be alone forever. Mira stood beside him. You're not alone anymore. Tom nodded. I know. I was just remembering how life used to feel like a long winter. And now, Tom took her hand. Now it feels like spring. That night, Mira wrote a message in her old Velen language and buried it in a metal box near the garden. Tom asked, What did you write? She smiled. A message to whoever finds it one day. Then I came here from the stars, lost and afraid. And I found something better than memory. Tom looked at her gently. What did you find? Home, she said. The stars above were bright and endless, but inside the small cabin by the forest, two souls who had once been strangers now shared something rare. Not war. Not fear, but peace, healing, and a quiet kind of love. Their story didn't need grand endings or battles in space. It was enough that, under a sky full of stars, they had found each other. And neither of them would ever be alone again. The end.